strikes at the moment.
Both blocking him up down there in turn one, but bam, oh boy, Craven really shot out into it.
All right, here we go with another episode of The Middle. I'm Seth Woolcock, founder of In Between Media, here to break down a little bit of free agency news and how this is going to affect my tight end rankings moving forward. And so the other day I got a text from a buddy, hey Seth, what is the most fantasy relevant news from free agency so far? And while we're going to talk about that on an upcoming episode of the podcast, I don't want to break that down right now. I want to break down a move that is not being talked about nearly as much as it should be in the fantasy football landscape and how it's going to affect a lot of players on this team moving forward. What I am referencing is no other than Ryan Fitzpatrick. He returns to the NFL with a 1-year, $10 million deal for the Washington football team. And I'm going to preface everything I'm going to be saying by this could change if Washington is somehow able to grab one of these top 5 quarterbacks in the upcoming 2021 draft. I don't see them being able to trade up and getting a guy like Trey Lance or Zach Wilson, Mac Jones even. So I do expect Ryan Fitzpatrick to be the guy here. Kind of think of him as like the Nicolas Cage, the Sorcerer's Apprentice. And you can kind of think of Taylor Heineke as the Jay Baruchel, kind of the newer guy on the block who's going to take a lot in from Ryan Fitzpatrick. But we really don't know the future of Taylor Heineke quite yet. So who is this going to affect on Washington? Obviously, this is going to affect Antonio Gibson. He was a guy coming into this before this news that everyone likes as a really nice RB2 coming into the season. And I don't think that changes too much. He was PPR RB13 last season in 14 games played, obviously suffered the injury at the end of the season, but he's going to be good to go for 2021. And Myles Gaskin, who played with Fitzpatrick at the beginning of the year last season, he was actually RB12 on a points per game basis, averaged over 5 receptions per game when Fitzpatrick was under center. Antonio Gibson, you got to like that he's going to get a lot of these dump offs from Fitzpatrick here. He's not a super mobile guy as he used to be. So look for Antonio Gibson. He's a guy, if he can stay around that, late round 3, early round 4 in redraft PPR leagues, I'm smashing that all day for a reliable RB2. Who else is going to affect here in Washington? It's going to be none other than Terry McLaurin. He's been a sensation since his first snap really here in Washington a couple of years ago. And right now, a lot of people with this news that Ryan Fitzpatrick is obviously the best quarterback that Terry McLaurin has ever played with. People are pushing him up already into their wide receiver 1 tier. I'm not there yet. I'm going to preface this. I'm going to say I'm not there yet. Dynasty, I love Terry McLaurin. I think when they get a young quarterback in there, he'll go up even higher. So he's a nice investment in Dynasty. But as far as redraft right now, I think Scary Terry is going to be a little bit overdrafted. He's obviously commanded that 20% target share over the last couple of years. I expect that to still stay high and stay in that range. But I'm seeing, Terry McLaurin probably is somewhere as that wide receiver 16 to 20 range. We know he can play. We know he can probably play with Fitzpatrick. He's going to have a lot of shots down the field. So some big plays will open up for Terry McLaurin, but probably won't be on many of my redraft teams unless he falls to a more reasonable price. Who else is this also going to affect here? This also going to affect Curtis Samuel. He just signed a nice deal here in Washington over the week. So I'm happy to see Curtis Samuel, a guy who is very versatile, played in Carolina his first 4 seasons, and, it really broke out here in 2020. It was really good to see. He was a PPR wide receiver 24 here, and really led the Carolina Panthers in a lot of versatility play. Plays out of the backfield a lot. So we'll see how that mixes up with the guys like Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick. But right now, I think Curtis Samuel, he's a wide receiver 3 I would love to have for a flex consideration on a weekly basis. I think he's going to get a lot of volume. He's really good in the red zone. I think he has about 7 red zone touchdowns just in the last year. So Curtis Samuel, he's a guy, I think I'll have more of Curtis Samuel on my team than I actually have of Terry McLaurin just because of the price. I think Terry McLaurin, obviously a superior wide receiver, will score more points than Curtis Samuel in fantasy football in 2021, but it's all about that ADP, baby. Curtis Samuel, though, I love him with Fitzpatrick. I think he's going to be used out of the slot a lot and some deep passes coming his way as well. Final player that this Ryan Fitzpatrick news is really going to affect is none other than a quarterback a former quarterback himself, Logan Thomas. Logan Thomas had a breakout year here in 2020. He was a top 5 tight end in fantasy in what was really a desolate year for the position once again. He ranked 4th in targets among tight ends, and that's what you love to see. Obviously, had a just an awful quarterback play all throughout the season. Started with Haskins, Case Keenum, Alex Smith, Heineke, but he was still that go-to guy behind McLaurin and behind Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick. And I expect with Ryan Fitzpatrick, who is known to use his tight ends, last year in his 6 starting games with the Miami Dolphins before their bye, before he became the on and off again starter that he was, tight ends were almost averaging 7 targets per game from Fitzpatrick. So I expect Logan Thomas, obviously with Curtis Samuel coming in, that will probably go a little bit down than it was last year, but I still expect him to average almost close to 6 targets per game. And with that being said, I want to really quickly go through my early redraft PPR tight end tiers and how this is going to affect Logan Thomas on that. I think with this addition of Ryan Fitzpatrick, it pushes him into that top 7 echelon and where I would be happy with him as my tight end 1. And there aren't a lot of players this season that I can say that and say that soundly. So starting at the top here, my redraft tight end rankings, obviously it's going to start with Travis Kelce. He's a guy, league of his own. Super excited to smash him anywhere from 106 to 112. He really is just, there's no one like him. This guy has been tight end 1, the tight end 1 for 5 years in a row, and it doesn't look like he's slowing down. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, that helps things a little bit too. But Travis Kelce, tight end 1 in a tier of his own. Next in that second tier is going to be Darren Waller, George Kittle, however you want to put him. I have Waller above Kittle right now. Less health concerns. We know what we're going to get out of the Las Vegas Raiders once again, but I'm happy with Darren Waller or George Kittle anywhere from that, back half of the second round, early third round. I think they're monsters to have there. And then kind of rounding out this tier here, this larger tier from 4, 5, 6, and 7. It's going to be Mark Andrews coming in at 4, obviously a talented guy from Baltimore. We're going to see what kind of weapons they add to strengthen this team. If not, Mark Andrews, he's a great play once again. TJ Hawkinson with the Lions. Lions have not added any wide receiver help other than Brashard Perryman, Tyrell Williams. It looks like those 2 guys and Quentin Cephas are going to be the wide receivers. Obviously, I'm expecting them to grab a guy like Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, one of those guys in the draft. But either way, TJ Hawkinson, he's going to be a target beast, and I expect him to maybe take that next leap this season as well. Kyle Pitts, he comes in at number 6. We're not sure where he's going to land. I just put out a Twitter thread today with my favorite landing spots for Kyle Pitts. Obviously, like if the Chargers or the Falcons, the Bengals are one of these teams that he can land at with a great quarterback and, really eat up some target share. Kyle Pitts, he's going to be a guy I'm excited to have here. And Logan Thomas, I already talked about him, but he is the tight end 7 for me. He's kind of that last guy that I would be comfortable with having as my tight end 1. I'm going to put the rest of this list up here. Robert Tonyan, Dallas Goedert, Austin Hooper, talked about him in my last video. The New England tight ends, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, and Tyler Higbee to round it out there. These are the guys that, if I need to, I'll take them as my tight end 1, but I really want one of these top echelon guys this season, especially if I'm in some type of tight end premium league. And as always here in Between Media, I want to round it out with a little bit of life advice. And, while there's a lot of information coming in, we're still trying to sort out this free agency frenzy. The draft is going to be right around the corner as well within the next month. I just want to say be respectful to people and their opinions in this industry, in this community. We're all trying to sort this out together. And, just because I have an opinion on someone right now, something can change a day or 2 later, and I need to adapt that. A lot of people call it staying water in this industry. I call it staying in between. Be willing to adapt, be willing to listen to other people's opinions and point of views to shape your own, and just be respectful to other people in general. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of The Middle. I'm Seth Woolcock. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. You can find us on Twitter. Visit inbetweenmedia.com, and I'll be back here next time on The Middle. Keep it real, guys.